We live. No justice, so we brought our peace. Get it in here.
And the ancestors are looking out for us. Todd Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under it.
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Flown lesson. Peace.
Young
Be unto you.
TV.
Hit that like.
Hey, Rabbi, peace and love throughout the land to all the mothers and to the fathers and, to the fatherless and to the motherless, right? We back again with another banger. We got Chief Pontiac in the building, right? Holding the frontier for the beginning of the war, and then the ending of the war is in Florida, right? So we brought you here tonight to talk about treaties because we got a lot of Moors coming on from the what you call it, the Canaanite temple, and they talking about treaties, these treaties, and then when they go to court, the judge them don't even care about their treaty. They still lock them up, slap their fingers off, throw them in the cage. So we brought Rod here, tonight to get him to go in on treaties. And so the first question we got for you, Rod, is why they try to make treaties with us and then they start to break them? Like they make a treaty with us, then they take our land right after. They grow and after they colonize, and then they colony grow, and then they say, oh yeah, we need some more land. And if we don't want to give it up, they take it. And they talking about some treaties. So what is your treaty, Rod, just starting out? For the first question.
First off, you got to understand art of war, right? If you are on the side that's losing or suffering the greatest casualty losses, you're going to be the one that's going to reach out to the other side in the middle of war and say, okay, y'all ready for peace yet? We didn't even wage war. We never waged war. So we was always receptive to the offer of peace until 2024. Nope, 2019. Because when Chief Pontiac come out, Rod Hayes, one of the first things he said was, I don't care about your treaties. You never honored one, right? All of your treaties is predicated on a constructed fraud. Therefore, cancel them all for non-performance. Okay, now, looking at the treaty game, it's a stall tactic in warfare. It's supposed to have been used to bring to a resolution the final conflict of a war. But when you sit down and have a treaty negotiation between the leaders, that's why you're not allowed to kill the heads of state. But America do it religiously. the head of state, your leader, my leader, supposed to negotiate terms in which we cease fire. We stop fighting, right? Well, they treaties is not made with us. Them treaties that you seeing is made with Europeans, French, and Spaniards. They not made with the tribes, right? Now, we have what's called an ancillary treaties. It's treaties that came about as a leverage because the ones like the Chata and like Chief Warhorse clan, her elders was forced to make treaties because the other civilized tribes made treaties. So now she got to make, her people have to make some kind of treaty in order to be exempt from the war effort that's being waged against the people of the land. We never waged war, right? So when they call us outlaw tribes, them the tribes that was like, man, we ain't waged war against you. I'm not coming to talk to you about no damn treaty, right? But the treaties don't have no organic original names as the tribes was being calling themselves at that time. You got to remember, all our tribal names, all our names used to be tied to something in nature. You was either tied to the river, to the sun, to the sky, or to the earth. You was tied to the wind. You was tied to the elements. You was tied to the animals. That's why you got people running around with the name Fox and Wolf, right? Traditional so-called Judaic names. But the word wolf and fox not native to their tongue. Where in the hell they get it from? So we don't know what's taking place. It's a grand deception. Go back to Sun Tzu Art of War, and you'll find that he said all warfare. He didn't say some warfare, a little bit of warfare. He said all warfare, ALL. All warfare is predicated upon deception. Now, Karl von Clausewitz defined war. Karl von Clausewitz said war is an act of violence because of political ambition, right? They telling us all this nonviolent stuff, but they violently murdering us. The police shooting us down. They going up in these sisters' houses, shooting them in the bed at night. They shooting the babies in the park, and then they telling us to be nonviolent. They telling you to be utterly insane. That's what they telling us. You have to be insane to accept violence against you with no retaliation or violence. Now, I found it kind of odd that all of the acts of violence in our community is against us, right? On all of the acts of violence in Paleface community is against them. Police shoot us all equal. The only people the police don't shoot down like they shoot down pale faces and Negroes is they don't shoot Asians down like that. They will shoot an Asian, but there's not enough of them for them to be a threat. So they don't shoot them down like that. They don't even, and then their lifestyle flies under the radar of what we call the criminal justice system, right? There's very few Asians in prison. And they've been here for some hundreds of years, by the way. They've been here longer than prison's been here. Right? We amalgamated with many of them, and they dark as us now. Right? And they came over here, some of them was darker than us, Asians. And we don't want to have that discussion because it flies in the face of the doctrine of white supremacists divide and conquer mechanics of racism. Right? So this is why we tell y'all the treaties have nothing to do with us. They was all put together based on a deception. If they based on deception, in law, that's called a fraud. Fraud vitiates all contract. To vitiate a contract means it's void and it never had weight. It's retroactively restricted. None of their treaties got nothing to do with us. They all fraudulent on our behalf. In relation to us, they treaties as frauds.
Yeah, they never honor anything. So that stands the reason why when Dr. York went in with the Yamasee thing being that the Yamasee don't got no treaties with them, they considered like an outlaw tribe. Besides the international is on file in 1993.
They call them
they
the United Nations call them OMEX, Elder.
Yeah,
That's what
okay,
that's who the United Nations identify the Yamasee as Olmecs, but they still don't say they got no treaties with them.
No, they don't got no treaties with the United States. I looked it up several times. They got they got international recognition, but not treaties with the United States. So they consider like an outlaw tribe. So that makes sense that why they would try when Doc go in there with the Yamasee, they say, "Oh well, we don't give down." They don't honor no paperwork. They don't honor nothing. So how does that work when so we shouldn't even go in there with no treaties, talking no treaty. They don't give a damn about no treaty.
Well, if they did.
Okay.
Now you notice that big old gigantic word "if"
right
at the beginning of that sentence. If they did, we would be able to use treaties to make the government stand down on most cases.
Yeah.
But since they don't, which takes away the if factor because they don't honor them. Yep. Matter of fact, in the Dred Scott case, who you think they was talking about when they said that they don't have no rights that a white man bound to respect? They got nothing to do with skin color.
Right.
It's got some chess terms.
Yeah. Yeah, because
being hashed out in legalese.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they got a game going in chess. Civilly mortis is the black, right? And the white nobility is the white. The first move was made by the white. That's called offensive chess. And the response to the move of the white was the black. That's defensive chess. The rosters turned the board around because they say if they're gonna attack us using the philosophy of chess, we have to change how we play chess, and we have to use our defense as viable offense. We got to defensively attack. But the government call it in this era something called a preemptive strike. There's no such thing.
Right.
There's no such thing as a preemptive strike. I was scared you was gonna blow me up, so I blowed you up first. That's retarded. The whole thing with warfare, and this is what's up. It's more facets of warfare than people could possibly understand in a civilian life. You have to be a student of war and combat. And thousands of years of war and combat has molded the reality that we live in today.
Right.
Right. So we have to study warfare. Then you understand why all your street blocks are square. When they used to be concentric circles going into the downtown area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now they're not concentric circles no more. That's called militarization of the village. The whole part about squaring off the corners, that's Masonic. It's because it's giving you a clue of who's involved. Squaring off the corners in regimented style. Regiment is military, squaring of the corners is Masonic.
Right.
Garvey had a whole military ready to tear something up till he read the ledgers and he say, well, I can't do too much now. I just realized they got another 100 years of this 200-year George Washington challenge. So if it take us 200 years, it don't matter. Up you mighty people, do what you will. We still can fight within the confines of the restrictions and educate ourselves above the condition. But they teaching y'all that education is toxic because they use toxic education to oppress you. Right.
Hey, Rob.
What's going on there? If you get my shirt,
I want to cut you.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. So, Rod, would it be safe to say the Bible was some type of form of treaty because it kind of like say turn the other cheek, love your enemy? You know what I'm saying? It got like it makes us passive. Go ahead.
The Bible is a contract, and the Bible is not just only a contract though. It's also the map to get out of the contract is in the book.
Go ahead. Right.
But not only is it a map to get out of the contract being in the book, the parameters of the war is also in the book. Right? They tell you it's against Esau and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't not realizing what they telling us. Esau means ruddy red earth, clay, the born of the earth. Jacob means supplanter, underminer, usurper.
That's right.
So the war is between Esau and Jacob. Now, the miseducated Hebrews think that Esau means pale face. That's not what it means. Adam wasn't a pale face. The word for Adam, Adama, and the word for Edom, Adama, is the same word.
Yeah.
They just tricked us by translating one with an E and one with an A because all vowels are interchangeable according to Grimm's Law of Grammar.
Right.
Right? So we thinking that Adam and Edom mean two different things, but the war has always been against Adam. And what was the number one tool they used against Adam?
His woman.
They turned him into a rat. He was the first recorded rat in the history of the world.
Oh yeah, he told. Yeah. I see where you're going. Go ahead.
Right. So, but why did they do that to him? To compromise his manhood. Eve wasn't the problem. Eve was the solution. If you eat from this tree, like Nachash said, the whisperer, the one with the lisp, the one who know how to conjure, if you eat this fruit, we ain't gonna be their slaves no more. We gonna figure our way out of this. And then he turned on his woman. As soon as he turned on his woman, that was the fallen man. You can't turn on your woman.
Right.
As soon as you turn on your woman, that's the fallen man. That's literally a reenactment of the fallen man.
Go ahead, bro.
But a lot of these women have misunderstood what does it mean to turn on your woman.
Go ahead.
When you push your woman between you and the enemy, that's what it means. You can't never put your woman between you and the enemy. Your woman supposed to push you between her and the enemy because you supposed to be there to bust his head.
Go ahead.
But you ain't gonna be there to bust his head because you telling on your woman. Man. Oh man, I don't want no smoke with you, dog. You know, that's my girl, man. You know how she is. You know how the brothers be in the hood. Oh man, you know how my girl is, man. Yeah, I just, man, I want problems always. I want all the problems. If you mess with man, I'm not turning down no problems. But it might not come in the reaction that you expect. Right? Because remember, all warfare is based on deception. I'm gonna make you believe one thing, but you didn't already violate it, so I'm gonna make sure you understand it. Mm-hmm. FAFO Generation X. We've been squaring up since I can remember. I don't remember when we wasn't squaring up. Right. I remember now when we switched from squaring up to busting caps.
Right.
So it ain't even safe to square up no more because these dudes are too sissified. They too effeminate, pusillanimous, right? To even stand there toe-to-toe with another man and see who the better man is. Right. The better man ain't just who could throw the hands the best. Sometimes the better man is the loser of the fight, but it's what he did after the fight that made him the better man.
Right. Right.
See? So a lot of people not paying attention to wars and rumors of wars. We ain't never not been at war. Right. Go back far as you can for 6,000 years. You can go back further than that. You can go back millennia. Ever since we had some visitors came to Earth, we've been at war. Mm-hmm. We had pyramid wars. We had Weaponized wars. We had Anunnaki wars. We had Andromedan war. We ain't never not been. Every time somebody come to our house, they find that they like our house and they don't think we deserve the house that we built. But we built it though, to the specifications that we've been putting in our family's generational understanding of how we're supposed to live in harmony with the land. We built it. But now that we built it, foreigners is coming saying, oh man, it's a nice house y'all built. Y'all don't need this. I'm going to take it for myself. And we not supposed to say nothing.
Right.
right? That's what the whole police situation is. That's why the police don't honor nothing that you say to them.
Nope, no constitution.
Because because they not here to listen to you. You the enemy. They the soldier. They finna take you in. They finna round you up with they ran of war rant. Half the people in jail, they didn't even have a warrant when they got arrested. They supposed to automatically been thrown out. Not supposed to arrest nobody without a warrant.
Yeah.
But how many people you know get arrested, then they go get a warrant?
Right.
You ain't supposed to do that.
Yeah. It's kidnapping. And
that's what it is. That's what it is. Most people don't know it's in the Supreme Court rulings that the police is not supposed to arrest you before the complaint is filed, registered, and logged with the magistrate. They're not supposed to detain you, hold you, take you to the station, stop you where you at and hold you. They ain't supposed to do none of that. They do it every day, all day long, 24 hours a day.
Color of law.
Yep.
Color of law. Hey, so my next question is, Rod, so what business do we have with them then? It says they ain't honor no treaties. We ain't got no more treaties with them because they broke every single one of them. What business do we have with them besides operating with their fiat currency? You know what I'm saying? That's the only business we got with them, seem like right now.
We don't have no business with them. They got business with us.
Okay.
They business is harassing us, killing us, and locking our ass up. That's their business. We don't have any business with them. That's why they always have to ask you a question. They have to initiate a dialogue. They have to open the conversation.
Yeah. That's why. So this is the thing, and we know that the government is rogue since 2001. We know it's been heist. So it's like this, man. So I think all we can do is really stay out their way as they go down, screaming and kicking.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, because like all you gotta do is just stay out their lane, because this system, whatever this is, it been faulty for a while. So it's like it's it's inevitable to go down. You know.
So what they want us to get involved in all of this activist work for these people. That's why we don't need them. They need us.
Right.
Our participation legitimizes their false system.
Yeah.
How do they get us to participate? They usually push our emotional buttons.
Yeah.
Right? They need us protesting in the streets out of ignorance, being rioting, tearing up the town. When we won't do it no more, because we see it don't work. It's not producing nothing. It's just like masturbation. Feel good, but you ain't gonna make no baby.
Yeah.
You know. So while we going through this, we watching them pay people to organize a rally. Pay people to participate in the rally, and then tell us it just happened.
Yeah.
Oh, the people protesting, we need to get this under control, call in the National Guard. They got to call the National Guard in anyway.
Yeah.
They got to call them in anyway because the police got to go.
Yeah.
Because we've been socially conditioned for so long to not be able to function without the police. When we get rid of the police, we need somebody there to keep the people functional.
That's fact. That's fact.
It's like, look, when you go into rehab to get off heroin, right? They give you some stuff called Suboxone, right? That's the same thing. Replace the substance of addiction with a more benign, less invasive drug that'll wean you off of the drug you addicted to. We addicted to police violence. If the police just quit committing violence on us, we'll panic.
Damn.
If the police just literally did what their job description was and only respond when clip on, like the sheriffs normally did before they begin to be institutionalized with police mentality.
Yep.
You ain't supposed to look. Once they start doing that, the people will panic.
Right.
The police is the ones who force crime. We didn't have crime or criminals before 1492. How do you know that? Because we didn't have no prisons and no jails. And we didn't have no police.
Right.
The police is not 100 years, 150 years old yet.
Go ahead.
Let that sink in. They wasn't even called police before that. First, they was called copper tops, and it was another name for slave catcher.
Yeah. Exactly
now it's a name for a battery. Let that sink in. Because every time we turn around, the copper tops is battering the people. So they say, well, they battering them so good, we might as well turn them into batteries because they keeping the energy of fear-mongering, powerlessness alive in the minds of the people. They reverse charging them, which is depleting the charge.
hey, Rod, so we know we don't got no business with them, and all they crimes that they especially drug crimes, especially, it's really not no crime, really, technically, unless you sold it to somebody that passed away that they caused bodily injury. But it's like only way you can supposed to be going to jail for drugs if you sold somebody some bad shit. You know what I'm saying? That shit wasn't no good. That's like
you taught them some poison in place of drug.
Yeah.
Look,
what they did with
now,
yeah, go ahead.
There's a term in law called acceptable risk. If a person is a drug addict, he done already accepted the possibility that he could OD. So if he come to you to solicit you for drugs to purchase your narcotics, whatever the case may be, and he OD, especially if he OD because it was good and he was used to using trash, right? That's called acceptable risk. It's the same caveat that farmers, when you hear the reading of the disclaimers on the drugs on the commercials, if you take this drug, you may have one or all of these symptoms that we about to name for the next 3.5 minutes of the commercial.
And then they got it in a small print where you can't see it at the bottom.
Yeah, but it's called acceptable risk.
Yeah.
Right? You already know there's some risk involved. You just don't, you figure that the benefit outweigh the risk. It might not. What if you one of the people that's sensitive to the drug where you get all the side effects?
Yeah, that's right. And that brings up another question because you're going into that. Now, I put out a tape about 2 days ago about John D. Rockefeller taking over the medicine game. He pretty much got rid of all the holistic. We had nothing but holistic schools over here. We didn't have the medical schools they got, where they teaching all of the pharmaceutical. Oh yeah, it's no cures and all that. We didn't have none of that. So could you go in on a little bit on that on the holistic schools that we had over here prior to John D. Rockefeller getting rid of paying everybody to get rid of the holistic schools?
Well, that was when they was introducing the American Medical Association. A lot of people don't know you used to go to the barber to have surgery. You go to the hospital. You used to go to the barber to get your tooth pulled. That was the other side of the barber shop. The medicine man most of the time was the barber. He was the one tell you what you need on the land when you come to town. That was the check-in chief. If he wasn't the barber, the barber wasn't the one who was the medicine man worked right in the back. 9 out of 10, it was some old lady. Really old lady. Been around a long time, to seen it all, done it all. Right? So now, fast forward, they want to institute financial. Remember, everything that we naturally do, they can villainize it, demonize it, so they can monetize it.
Copyright it. Yeah.
Right. A license is permission to do something that's illegal. How is it illegal to heal somebody that's sick?
Right.
Who passed that law and made it illegal?
Yeah.
But you need a license to practice medicine.
Yeah.
right?
Practice. Key word.
Yeah, practice. And we know, and we got Al Iverson to thank for us understanding the meaning of practice. You can be the greatest at what you do, but if you're not practicing, they assume you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because they don't never see you at practice.
Yeah, they never see him at practice, but he still win. Let's go 60.
So what they wanted to do was introduce petrochemicals. Most of the diseases are laboratory made, especially the STDs. The gonorrhea, the syphilis, the HIV, the chlamydia, it's all laboratory made.
And
most of the STDs that's parasitic in its origin came from the deep sea, and they normally affect a different species. But once they get into the human strain, it's hard to get rid of them because you don't know where they are because you can't see them with the naked eye. Right. So they don't need no patent on parasites.
Yeah.
But they need a patent on chemical toxins made in a laboratory.
Right.
Right. And this is why you got patents on all of the diseases.
Yeah.
Cancer is patented.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, 400 years, 300 years ago, 200 years ago, people weren't dying from cancer like they dying from cancer now.
Nothing. None of this.
Right. People wasn't dying from congestive heart failure the way they are now. Congestive heart failure is a side effect of a congested liver. We don't know that our internal organs also perspire. And when your liver congested, the perspiration fills in the heart cavity because that's where the only place for it to go. And if your lymphatic system is congested, it can't even get out of the body. Right? So all these diseases being man-made, when they make them, they have a prerequisite before you're allowed to make it in the free will universe. If you make a disease, you got to make a vaccine and a cure when you make it. Right? This is why they've been knowing how to cure HIV from the beginning. They made the vaccine when they made the virus.
Right.
Right? Normally they use the virus to make the vaccine. Right. I'm not so sure they're not using the vaccine to make viruses or past viruses.
Hey, Rod, so what is saying the reason that, because everything you're saying is straight facts, because they tell us all of this. They say that when they got the Native Americans was over here, and then when 1607 is really when diseases started coming, when they came over here. I heard an old Native American chief say that it wasn't no rats or none of that. So could you go in on like how when they came, that's when the diseases all came, like the smallpox, all that came with them over here.
You gotta remember they was giving peace offerings. Well, one of our customs was called the blanket right. Right. And we used to exchange blankets, and Big Mamas used to exchange slippers. Well, in Latin America, it's called a chancla. It's a symbol of power. So when they exchange them, that's recognizing the other tribe. Well, you got the European came over here, and he had smallpox infested blankets and syphilis infested hookers. And the concubines from over there would be treated drastically different over here if they wasn't killing the people off with their diseased bodies. All this was by design. This is not a secret. We ain't the first ones they did it to. Think they learned how to do it to us? They was giving Mongolians and Huns smallpox infested stuff before they got to build up an immunity to it. Right. You gotta remember, before they started fighting to the west, to the east, they was already fighting to the west. The ones they was fighting in the east was in the east was called barbarians. Right. The ones they was fighting in the west was called Tartarians. right? Which traces back to the book of Enoch and the land of Tartarus, which is described as the exact geography under the ice of Antarctica,
Right.
the coldest desert in the world. Right.
They find.
So
Oh, just keep going.
yeah. So they think that all of this stuff we believe, oh, we just having a pandemic out of nowhere. No, it's a plan. It's not out of nowhere. How do we know this? Because when you go to Revelations, it talk about pouring the vials of the plagues out on the people.
Yeah.
Where they get the vial from? Vial, you use a vial in the laboratory.
Right.
Right? They call it a test tube in modern times.
Yeah.
It's a vial.
That's right.
So they're pouring out the vial of the plagues on the people. Then you get to see that they deliberately poisoning the people with disease. Ain't none of this stuff an accident.
Nope.
It's all by design. Very poorly designed at that.
It's high level alchemy, man, because like you said, this is a conjure, and that's part of the alchemy. So now let's go to the next phase of this, because we're dealing with treaties, and we're talking about different mechanisms that they use. Now let's go to the first wave. So what would you say was the first wave? Could you like go in order with the liquor, then the heroin, then it was the coke, then like coke came after that. It was liquor first, wasn't it? Prohibition, then it was heroin after the war, Vietnam War, and then crack. They hit us with crack in 81. Now I heard some people say it was 79. They seen it, but they wasn't. But they say 81, man. I'm talking a whole bunch of smoker. They say 81, man. That's when they was in high. My cousin said 81. That's when it really crack really hit. But could you go in a timeline on those mechanisms of the different alchemical, like as far as the drugs and liquor and the different formats on the drugs?
It had some famous nightclubs in the 70s, Studio 57, Studio 104, Playboy clubs, Hustler clubs, and all of these night spots, they had something called freebase. This was in the 70s, late 60s and the 70s. Freebase is what became crack cocaine, right? Because they used to cook the impurities off of the powder cocaine and to smoke it. They called it freebasing, right? If you go back to NWA, the song, I think it's Boys in the Hood, he said, my man JD was on freebase. The boy JD was a friend of mine till I caught him in my car trying to steal my Alpine, right? They wasn't calling it crack. The government named it crack when they made it in UCLA, Berkeley. They have the actual papers that was written on the refined cocaine process that they was doing in UCLA that made crack cocaine. This is how they even learned how to freebase. Right?
Hey, using the Skinner box, right, Rod?
No, I'm talking about they
on the monkeys. They was giving crack to the monkeys, putting them in the Skinner box. I remember
Oh,
that study.
you know what? They might have been using the Skinner box, but I know they was testing the crack cocaine on monkeys, and they were offering food versus crack, and the monkey would take the crack over the food. But that was after they had refined it.
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta remember, before they refined cocaine in the crack, they had tried to do it with caffeine. Right, and then they kept, that's when they was called. That's what speed is. It's the sifted down caffeine.
Yeah,
but it wasn't as addictive as the coca leaf. Right. So since it's not as addictive as the coca leaf, and now you can go buy it in the store and they call it no-dose.
Yeah.
Right. If that would have been the equivalent of the cocaine, that would be just like selling crack over the counter.
Yeah.
But because the cocaine and the crack is so much stronger than the caffeine, then they make the caffeine like that's passe. Remember, used to have to go find a person that knew how to make aspirin. Aspirin wasn't no common pain reliever.
Yep.
Only certain people knew how to make it.
Yeah, it's a certain plant.
Until they found out that they could monetize it and sell it as powder called step back in the South.
Yeah, stand back.
Some of the people know what I'm talking about down in the South.
Yeah,
we call it yeah.
I remember my granddaddy talking about that. Yeah. Stand back. Give it to him. He said, if I'm having a heart attack, go in my pocket, give me some of that stand back, pour it down in my mouth, and stand back.
All it is aspirin. Yep. But it was pure aspirin before they started putting impurities in it.
Yeah.
Right. And then they found that the aspirin have a side effect of burning holes in your stomach. Mm-hmm. But they didn't tell us that. They whispered it to us. So now we be taking aspirin, burning holes in our stomach, and wonder why we got ulcers.
Yeah. That's what, later found out that.
You know, so all that is monetizing stuff and using different things. Now, when they was developing crack in UCLA, it was a CIA-funded operation. At that time, George Herbert Walker Bush was the director in the 70s under Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. But crack don't hit the streets until Ronald Reagan is in office.
Reagan era.
Right. So Reagan ended up being undermined at every turn by George Bush. George Bush was scared to death of Ronald Reagan. We don't remember his campaign promises revealing the UFO files.
Yeah.
We don't remember he was saying that in his campaign. He was saying he was going to open the UFO files, the CIA files, all of the top secret government stuff that the people supposed to be aware of, that the government was keeping from them. That was his platform.
Yeah.
But now we only remember something called Reaganomics.
Yeah. Reaganomics. Well, the rich get richer and the poor get poor. Hey, Nino Brown on New Jack City said they running a strange program, y'all, in the Reagan era. They running a strange program where the rich get richer and the poor get poor. That's crazy. Hey, this is what I was gonna ask you though, Rod. Too. It's gonna be like I don't like we talking about that, right? They get all soft up. But okay, from back in the day, I remember because we're talking about the herbal schools and how John D. Rockefeller got rid of all the herbal schools. Because everybody, my grandma, all the people that was like born before the 60s, they knew how the natural herb, they knew how to natural heal. Like my grandma, all I had to do is call my grandma. If I had something, man, call my grandma. Like I said, my stomach hurt, grandma. She'd say, go in there and get some baking soda, stir it around in the warm water, and then drink it. Right? I do it, boom.
We call that Alka-Seltzer now.
Yeah. 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 Put it in the cup. Yeah, you put it in the cup and it for you. Yeah.
When the women over here was raising children, they learned what every plant was. They learned what every herb, tree, rock, soil patch. Because you gotta remember, you could be walking on brown soil and all of a sudden you hit a patch of dirty red soil. You keep on walking far enough, you're going to hit a patch of dark black soil in the middle of nowhere. The change in the soil is changing in what we call elements. The chemical properties of the different colors of soil is different. And this when you talk about Edom, you're talking about ruddy red, you're talking about Mississippi clay dirt. Ain't no Mississippi clay dirt in the Middle East.
It's how iron, red dirt, how iron.
Yeah, ain't no Mississippi clay dirt in the Middle East.
Nah, it's all sand. So yeah, so what it stands the reason that all those schools that we had, those medical schools, that our grandmothers and them were attending those type of schools and getting their information.
No, we didn't have schools.
Well, like not schools, but you like a center where you learn, where they teach and pass that
right.
information.
So
yeah,
Every family had a specialty.
Yeah.
And then it was somebody in every family responsible to learn certain stuff.
Yeah, pass it down. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Most of the women had to learn midwifery and doula practice early.
Yeah.
By the time they got to be adult women, they supposed to have been the masters of yoni magic. Right? They took that away from them. They're like, no, we can't let them have that much control over their own self, their own body. They're not competent to govern over their own body. Right? So they took all of that stuff and put it into a hospice center called a hospital. Right? And the hospitalers, if you look them up, not hospital, hospitalers is a secret society. Like Masons. Like Knights Templar.
Yeah.
Right? And they was the ones who made the agreement with the Shriners to administer health care. That's why all Shriners hospitals is supposed to always be free for children. They're not, you're not never supposed to be billed at a Shriner hospital for taking a child.
Facts.
The difference is the Shriners hospitals are normally the ones who still follow the Imhotep oath, not the Hippocratic oath. We forgot Imhotep was the father of medicine.
Yeah, that's right.
Hippocrates was just a Johnny-come-lately interloper that was trying to figure out what was being talked about in the old records.
Yeah, what Imhotep put down. Yeah. And look, Rod, so do you think that man, okay, I might want supposed to say that then. So let's ask this question then. All right, so Rod, the medical game. So pretty much, because man, I'm telling you, the hospitals, they get rid of people, man, and then the format that they got in there, based on what the Rockefeller tape said, and based on when I've been up in there, they really on a program that it's on how much money we can get out this guy. Let's take him down here and put him in this machine, this X-ray machine. It's $2,500 just for putting you in that machine. Then let's take him upstairs, give him 25 drugs, and we're gonna charge him $2,000 for that. Then they charging you $300 every 2 hours for the room, like you staying at a high dollar motel. And the food is so crap up in there. You know, this the next thing. Let's bring the next question. Here you go, right here. It came to me. Now, so when my grandma, before she died, she was in the hospital. And she called us to say, hey, y'all need to bring me some doggone food up here, right? And my grandma from down Mississippi, like that area, right? She raised her own cows, chickens, everything. She raised her own stuff all the way till she died, right? I remember she still had chickens when she died, right? But that's what I meant to say. She said, y'all need to bring me a real burger, because she said that because the chicken up here, it must have been mad when it died. It must have been mad when it died because it tastes like rubber, right? It must have been mad. It's a chicken. That's a head chicken. Must have been mad. And she said that it tastes like rubber, and it tastes like it don't got no cock-a-doodle-doo, meaning that it ain't chicken. And this was way back before I even knew about them growing chicken in the lab and all that. They might have been growing the chicken in the lab way back then when my grandma said ain't no cock-a-doodle-doo in this chicken. Now I'm trying to tell you. They thought she was going. They had to make her like she was crazy, right? I didn't taste real chicken. I didn't pluck my own real chicken. This ain't no chicken. And so we went to a place called Jack in the Box. I don't know if y'all got them up there, but down south they got a place called Jack in the Box. They sell burgers. It's kind of like McDonald's, Burger King, same. But
you know they got called with kangaroo meat back in the day.
Yeah, they got shut down, right? They got shut
That's
down.
what happened. That's why they're not as popular as they used to be. The kangaroo meat scandal.
Yeah,
and then
man,
as soon as they started recovering from that, they had a horse meat scandal. All this stuff is Googleable information.
Yeah. It's funny that you say all that because now I think about it, make it funnier what my grandma said. Hey, so my grandma, my cousin bought her the burger. She got the burger, ate it. She said, I'm gonna tell you now because something going on here. She said there ain't no moo in that burger. Ain't no moo in that burger, and it wasn't no cock-a-doodle-doo in that chicken. And so that wouldn't have been, that couldn't have been no real burger. It had to be something else. That's what my grandma was saying. So based on that's what I meant to tell you. Now, so the meat over here. A lot of people stopped eating meat now since the Chinese selling all the pigs over here, but they won't let it be exported to their country. They won't accept hogs from over here. They own all the hog farms, the Chinese, but they won't accept the hog to their country. Does that sound like some kind of military warfare or something? Now, so the meat, how are we gonna do it? Because there's some people that still want to eat meat, and they don't got no cows. You know what I'm saying? Who owns some cows? Nobody really owns cows no more, really. You know, so chickens, you know. So do you think we should start our own chicken farm, or if you a meat eater, should you start your own little small little get together for a while till we can get some kind of big operation going on? The meat game. What you think? Should we stop eating meat altogether? What's your take on it? Because people got different blood types. Go in on the meat thing.
Listen, meat, vegetables, whatever it is, once you kill it, it's dead. I don't care if it's a plant or if it's an animal. Once you kill it, it's dead. Right? It's just that it takes longer for vegetables to die than for meat to die. Right? All we doing is translating life force from one organism to another. Whether you eat meat or not should be your own personal preference. A lot of people can't go vegan. As soon as they go vegan, they can't hold body weight. Right? And then they start getting weak. Then they look like they got malnutrition.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Everybody not supposed to be vegan, just like everybody not supposed to eat meat. Some people are supposed to be pescatarians. They only supposed to eat seafood. Right? And they normally have a reaction when they eat other stuff. Their body be like, nah, man, this ain't where it's at right here. That's not your cultural diet, and I ain't finna buy it.
Rod, I was just about to ask you that. Like, so would it be safe to say that whatever tribe, say if you had to use a tribe from that's based on the shorelines, like you talk about the crab tribe from the West Coast, the crab clan. So they ate certain crab that they can eat crab. It's like a lot. And it wouldn't affect them as it would affect another tribe that wasn't a Bay tribe. Could you go in on that? The different tribes ate different things depending on where they land was.
Yeah, that's we talked about that before on several different occasions.
Yeah,
where your ancestral diet, right, traced back to the land your people was at for the longest period of time. Like my ancestral diet is Southern cooking.
Yeah.
Right. We used to eat dandelion greens. Now they got us eating collard greens.
Yeah. Dang.
You can find out why by when looking at the nutritional value and the health benefits of the two.
The hybrid. Yeah.
Right. They got us eating turnips and mustards, which is not a bad green.
Yeah.
You know, but the dandelion is the king of nutritional biological support of the greens.
That's facts.
But them collard greens, look, they don't even taste right if you don't eat them with your fingers.
Yeah.
Not to nobody that's from the tribes.
You know about that, Rod.
Look, if you don't mash that cornbread up with them greens with your fingers, it don't taste right.
Man, you know, hot sauce and that cornbread, man. That water cornbread and hot sauce on them green. Man, make me want to cook some greens tomorrow, Rod. I might go cook some greens tomorrow. Yeah, you making me hungry, man, because I sure been fasting all day.
But my cousin tried to tell my mama to taste some greens one time, and they was on the fork, and my mama tasted them. She was like, hold on, give me that plate. She put the plate. She said, hold this fork. Oh, I know what's missing out of these.
The sauce. He missing the apple cider vinegar. That's what he was missing.
Look, when you don't eat it with your fingers, they don't have the same effect.
Yeah.
You can ask anybody from Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, or Tennessee, Kentucky. You can even ask some of the pale face folk. They'll tell you the same thing.
You talk about the cooks and all that, the cooks, the different families that had different things. Now in Memphis, because I know it's different cultures everywhere, but everybody got its different styles. People had different styles. In Memphis, they got a different style. In Detroit, the players got a different style. It's similar, but they got a little slight difference. Like I remember that, like if you come to Detroit, there was a certain type of Jeep that everybody drove up there, a certain type of car that everybody rocked. So could you go in on that, the trend that we set and the time frame? I remember when everybody was wearing Chuck Taylors, and then they stopped wearing them, and then 20 years later, they started everybody wearing Chuck Taylors. It was like, so the different phases of the trends that we set. Could you go in on that?
Different trends normally take on regionally first. This is how you see how a culture is expressed. Right? It was one time in Chicago, the only shoes you seen a Stone wearing was the original black and red Air Force Ones. The original black and red Air Force Ones, you wasn't finna catch a Stone in them. But the GDs will be wearing the all-white Air Force Ones. Why? Jordan, number 23, Chicago Bull. This brother representing us, we representing him. I'm using my tribal way of representing him with these white Air Force Ones. You using yours with the black and red. I prefer low tops. You like the high tops. Right? So it's the same with the Chuck Taylors in Cali. Right? The Chuck Taylors became equivalent of combat boots to soldiers out west. It became part of the dress code of the culture of the West. Right? When they ask you why, it's just the law of the West. Only somebody from the West can understand the law of the West. Right? So when you go out there and you get involved in their politics, but you don't know their political structure, you're going to get crushed every time. Right? But if you know how their politics work and you get a respect, you don't have the problems that you have when you understand the culture. Right? So we crisscrossing all over the land now. Spider webs. We sewing it up. Right? Because now you got Crips and Bloods in the Midwest, and you got folks and vice lords out west. You got them all in New York. But this is really what we're doing is tracking everybody going back home after fighting the wars on different parts of the land. Every tribe was called into Florida when it first set off. This is why none of them boats in the history books landed in Florida after the Gullah War started, because they was blocking the intake from them to get to New Orleans. There was the war zone was the Gulf of America as it is now. Trump renamed it. The Gulf of America was the battlefield. So all of the settlers to come after that, they have to settle going north on the eastern seaboard. Our intake is not the eastern seaboard. That's called a breach of security. Somebody breached the security. All you got to do is look at who territory they said it was. The New England territory. Right? The New England territory is where's the Old England territory? Because you won't know who's claiming the New England territory if you don't know who has claimed the Old England territory. Right? So the culture influences how we move on the land, and then it show you where we at when we get there.
Yeah. Because NWA came out at a time when dope. You know, it was like, you know, the police brutality, all that. So, but speaking of going into now, do you think that the music is keeping the gun violence like not letting us know? Because it seems like to me when they do the raps and then they say certain key words like the N word, when they say the N word, it's like they talking about us or their own people, like they making us us the enemy. Like you said, like a while back, you said that we just don't know who the enemy is. We fighting the wrong enemy, right? So do you think the music is still being weaponized to keep us thinking that we are the enemy? Our own, besides, you know, the people that look like us but ain't us?
So the experiment for weaponized music goes back to Tavistock Institute in the development of a pop culture iconic group called the Beatles.
Yeah, I remember.
An MK Ultra collaboration between the CIA and MI5, MI6. This collaborative effort was trying to use what's called the Pied Piper effect. Remember, the Pied Piper came to town to get rid of the rats. But what happened when they didn't want to pay him for getting rid of the rats? He came back and he Pied Pipered the children right on up out of town. He cut off their resources to their future. Right? He just stole their whole future from them by stealing their children and brought an end to bloodlines. Whoever was part of that village, their bloodline was cut off when the children left, at least on that territory. All these stories have significance in pop culture. They got significance in politics. They got how we perceive them and where do they fit to explain the story is why they kept in. You got to remember, in order to keep something in the forefront of somebody's mind, you got to keep telling them.
Yeah.
Because soon as you stop telling them, it's going to sink into the subconscious. And if it's not required and needed, then it won't be pulled back to the forefront ever again. So all of the stuff that they keep repetitiously telling us, the nursery rhymes, the fairy tales, the mythologies, the religious dogmas, right? All that's to keep that program at the forefront of the mind, occupying your short-term memory, jamming your computer processor.
Yeah, right. Hey, Rod, I remember you was on that tape with Dr. Kia, and Dr. Kia was twisting her cap back. And I said, damn, Rod, no more than the doctor. You know what I'm saying? yeah, right. Because you was telling her stuff about her career, like stuff that she didn't even know about her career. Like, man, that shit was crazy. You can go back and watch that tape, y'all, about what me and Rod did called Rod Receipt class with Dr. Kia. That's dope, man. Shout out Dr. Kia, man. Prove it.
Yeah, that's my girl.
Yeah, she deep too. That's why they shadow ban her, shut her pages down. So she must be doing something that they really don't like.
Yeah, she's antagonistic to the divide and conquer system. Yeah, if you don't know that the system of control over us is divide and conquer, then you won't look at the individual means by which they divide us up. Right? The easiest thing to do is to exploit the xenophobia. Right? The xenophobia is a irrational or a manic fear of strangers. Right? Then you have to usurp the xenophilia, your ability to love and welcome strangers. So now you look at that. Some people are naturally one or the other. A xenophiliac, meaning someone who loves strangers, can conquer the xenophobic by knowledge. But the xenophobic could never conquer the xenophiliac using the force of rage or fear. Because the xenophiliac is going to recognize the irrational nature of the xenophobes' fear and not participate. The problem is when you got them on both sides of the dynamic that you're pushing, this is how you polarize people to keep them divided. And once you get them to a little bit of division, now you have them conquered.
Mhm.
Everybody got to be their own individual, but everybody got to know how to see what's really happening.
Mhm.
And the more people aware, the more individual control that we have in our individual life, and the more collective we have of the direction of the collective.
Now, it's a couple of guys out here that saying that they trying to find out like are they chiefs? We got a lot of chiefs. We got a lot of chiefs out here, but not enough Indians. Pretty much what I'm saying. So
They carry you too much when you're the baby.
how? Because everything is being rescheduled, reset, and we know that the clan mothers pick the chiefs. So and it's a lot of people out here. They saying they chiefs, right? Some people just might be saying it just to make it sound good. But what are you? What is it going to take to qualify as a chief in the new system, the tribal system? After all this is said and done,
Well, remember, the chief is an acronym given to us by foreigners in order to identify the particular leader at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not a real name or a title to a real position. The ancestral edict is the one who know the path must lead the way. It's not obligatory, it's mandatory.
Go ahead.
Right? If you the only one that know how to get us to the destination, you the chief of that travel.
Go ahead.
Whatever pursuit you're going down, whether you're teaching metaphysics, whether you're teaching history, science, you're the responsible chief because you are the one who is the specialist in the field. Right? And so this is why it's so many chiefs and not enough Indians, because everybody is working on a different part that they able to lead. Right? The problem with the Indian is they the chiefs that's supposed to fall back and be used by the other chief when the time comes for his specialty to be used or required. Right? So it's gonna look like everybody a chief one day. Because everybody gonna be in their own lane. You master your own lane, you your own chief.
That's right.
You govern yourself first. And it make it easier for us to work in harmony because once you got self-control, it's hard for somebody outside of you to control you.
Right.
But they won't even try to. Self-control is a deterrent to tyranny. And this is why you got to know when to STF you. When to STF you. When to close your big mouth. Right? Because some people, this is why the women didn't care if she had sister wives. She's looking at political power. She needs the strongest team to put around the king as possible to make him to become the most successful. Right? So the political power for men comes from the backing of the women. They've been telling us the whole time, behind every great man is a great woman. Why is she behind him? Because she got to hold the battery in his back to keep him charged up.
That makes sense.
That's the only person supposed to have the battery in your back is the one that your mama picked.
Yeah.
Because she the only one she trusts with the key to your heart.
Damn.
She only trusts her because she believed that this one gonna love you unconditionally like she did when she started forming you in the womb. And then she'll give you all these hints of what to look for when you find her. By asking you questions. Learning what you like so she can make sure that he likes shorter women than him or make sure she ain't too tall. He like taller women than him or make sure she a giant.
Hey, Rob, what your
Whatever.
mama say? I don't know about this one, and you go along with it anyway, and then you meet the you see why
It's
she
not
said.
gonna last. Y'all gonna end in what's called a fiery ending. This is what they call in modern times a messy divorce.
Man.
The messy divorce is the destruction of the relationship because the mitochondrial link couldn't be passed from mother to daughter-in-law.
Man.
She couldn't give her the key to your heart because she said she got an ulterior motive. The ulterior motive might be that you're the only person she know how to train dogs, but with the ulterior motive doesn't override the innocence.
You deep, bro. You got some good stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if the innocence of the heart, it determines what they're willing to do for something, determines the value of the connection. And mama will find that if she's willing to do more for the ulterior motive to make sure that's met, than to make sure that the balance in your relationship is met, she's not going to give her the key. You're going to rebel because we rebellious. And you're going to try to be with her anyway, even after your mama done told you this ain't going to last. She's telling you she can't give her the key. She ain't the right one.
Damn.
So when you bring her home, she'll say, yeah, it's nice. Enjoy yourself while you can. I don't know how long it's going to last.
Yeah.
She's telling you she can't give you the key.
Damn.
See, now that, when your mama say, now that one right there, there's something about that girl right there. You need to keep your eye on her, son. Watch her. Now she's telling you there's something special going on and you need to pay attention if you want the right woman that she picked for you. Because this is the one that's going to love you unconditionally like I do. So you keep your eye on that one.
Yeah.
Right? And the other one, when y'all go do something fun, like take the babies out, the step babies, whatever the case may be, and you come back and you talk to mama and you tell her how much fun you had and she don't give you much of a reaction. Oh, that's nice, son. But then the other one, you say y'all just went to the pharmacy on a round the block walk and she get all excited and grinning about it. You know what she telling you without telling you, because some stuff, if she tell you, you're going to rebel. So she give you the hints and the clues. Right? And then if you paying attention to what your mama been telling you your whole life, when it's time for you to tie the families together, you know exactly who everybody is, where they come from, who sent them, and how they got there. Because it's a training program to understand how to read the law of balance and opposites between gender. Mama been training you, but was you a good student of mama, or was you too busy trying to be like daddy because you know he wasn't no good? His papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. We love Pops though. Pops cool as can be, but he just won't do right. And mama don't care. She's like, well, you know, he just your daddy doing what your daddy do. She don't want you to think bad about him, but you watching him do stuff that is, you know, disrespectful, at least to you, until you learn the culture. Once you learn the culture, you realize that none of it meant what the new culture told you, because the culture they practicing is ancient. Mama only get in daddy case when daddy move out of his patterns. Long as he doing what he always do, she ain't gonna trip. But when he start doing some strange, funny style stuff, mama gonna have a meltdown. That's why be yourself or don't be nothing. She uses it to teach the sons, if they paying attention to the daddy, when she react, when he's acting other than himself, which takes us back to 5% God body doctrine. Anything is pork is making you other than yourself. Right. So if that's the only thing that set mama off, you know, and you know mama ain't about no games, because she was a gangster back in the heyday, even if she a saint back right now. But she tolerate what she tolerate from Pops out of genuine love. Because remember, His mama had to give her the keys to his heart, or else she wouldn't have it. So she don't care what he do with himself after that. She still got the key.
Hey, I noticed that some mamas give they gotta see something that they got. Like you just said it though. You just really said it because that's true. Where they gotta see something in them and they got in them that it's like the same thing. They got the same thing, and that's that love that you talking about. That love. Hey, this is the next question I got for you, Rod. Now we notice a lot of people say you're a product of your own environment. Right now, I grew up in a neighborhood that was real bad. Like I saw people get shot because they were gang banging real bad. I saw people get, like young people get killed. So based on that, but to me, that just made me better. It made me more, like it made me more tougher. Like somebody will tell them they cry. They'll cry. They see something like that, they'll cry. Like right now, they'll break down crying. Oh my God, it's me. I see that, Like I say, yeah. I done seen it when I was little so many times. I saw a guy get blew off the swing with a 12 gauge, man.
Yeah. Remember T.I. say, anything don't kill me, make me better.
Right.
Right? That's what he talk about. The product of your environment is not always a good thing and it's not always a bad thing.
Right.
Your perception of how you perceived it, your natural grit, how easy you are to be offended and how quick you are to jump to action determines if your environment gonna mold you for the better or the worse. Most people, the most productive character-wise is country living off the fat of the land, growing your own food with control of your day-to-day life, right? Country living. Not just for the sake of being in the country, it's the sake of being one with the land. That make the character of the individual stronger, tunes in his perception, because he's going to learn naturally how to read nature from being in nature. When the birds make a certain sound, you know it's an intruder coming, right? When you see the bear, you know that you had to be downwind, because if you was upwind, he would have smelt you and went the other way, right? You know you have to be at the top of the tree if you want to go deer hunting. Put your blind in the top of the tree, and the deer won't smell you so close, right? So you learn these things on the land, right? You know that in the springtime, the salmon gonna spawn. You know where they gonna spawn to, right? Eggs in the salmon is valuable about that time. The salmon most valuable because of the eggs, right? So when you start understanding the movement of nature, living off the land, the country living brings out heightened sensory perception in the individual. And that's why it looked like almost all them country folks be psychics, right? But now when you take them out the country and you raise them in the city, they develop differently because the terrain and the survival mechanics is different. And some of them develop what they call a cold hard stare, right? That's just from being exposed to so much trauma, so much warfare, combat, that they become what they call battle hardened. They just as soon kiss you as cook you. Just as soon dance with you and bust you in the head with this tomahawk. Cause they're like, if it got to be done, it got to be done. If we got to go singing and swinging, getting married like Christmas, let's go. But if we got to go thug it out, let's bug it out. However it is, once we get to that level, it take a long time for us to come back to the more calmer, serene heart space, because we have so much psychological scar tissue from continuous combat our whole life. So the environment molds the person, and the character of the person by the natural person has a disposition that certain environments mold them for the better or for the worse. Suburban living mold the character a little different because you're going to see a little trauma, but you're going to also have the safety of the suburbs to run back to. The ones of the boys reaching puberty ages when they need to establish their manhood, they're going to gravitate out of the suburbs to the inner city in order to knock around with the local clans, right? Hobnobbing and finding out who's who and what's what in the area. While they down there, they going to be exposed to the underbellies of that society by the tribe. And when you get exposed to it, is the suburbanite going to be able to handle the pressure? If he can handle the pressure, then they're going to give him the nod of approval. He survived this outlaw conflict, right? He told us how to steer clear of that police raid. When you being productive, people want you around because the more productive people around you, the more productive you is by default. But when you have a bunch of people around you looking for you to be the only productive person, now you got anchors on. And that's why you got to know everybody's skill set, who's qualified to do what in your circle. Don't call the plumber to do the electricity. Don't call the carpenter, right, to put up the fence. That's not his job. You
Hey,
call the
Rob.
cook.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can call the cook to change the light bulb. That's what the janitor for.
Yeah, I got to get off right like now because I got to take my girl somewhere. And supposed to be leaving at 9:30, but it's all good. She'll be all right. Yeah. So, man, I want to thank you for coming out, Rod. Hey, y'all, this is what we're gonna do. Hey, y'all, if you want to show Rod some love, I think his Cash App back working now. Man, this class, man, Rod, you be dropping it, Rod. You be coming on. I'm about to go back and listen to this again because you be dropping some little, giving me little pieces. I can go add that to some shit I already got, and then it open up a whole nother vortex on look at itself. Yeah, on far as like this, just the psychological place that we at right now after going through all what we went through, coming through not knowing who we were, getting our memory back, remembering, okay, who tricked us, this and that, just fighting through all the lies. It's been a long ride. It's been a long ride to get to this point. You know what I'm saying? Many people are along the way. All these great masters like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Dr. York, a whole bunch of others. You know what I'm saying? Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, all these guys came and then led us up to this point to get. It took. Would you believe it took that long? But a lot of people know back then who we were, but it seemed like we took a long time to get to this point of mass. So many people knowing. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
So you had two things going on. You had an undercurrent of truth that was with a layover of BS. The BS layover was the false narrative. The reason why they want us to chase reparations is so we will never assert our jurisdictional right over the land. This our stuff. Been here from the beginning, gonna be here at the end. From the alpha to the omega. Right? So we was looking at their story at the surface, but nobody was diving under that current of falsehood to see what our elders was telling us. And then through propaganda, which is part of warfare, propaganda told us don't follow our leaders, follow theirs. Follow the ones they manufacture for us. Disregard the one. Your leader is only the leader to get you from one condition to the next. Your leader not supposed to always be the leader all the time. It's just like in any household, the father and the mother is always changing places. When the mother go out of town, daddy got to make sure the dishes get washed and the babies get put to bed because mama going on vacation with her sisters so she can get a break from you brats. And I need to know how to run the house when she ain't here. Right? But when daddy leave, mama got to know how to go out there, split some firewood in case she run out. You know, she don't have to do it every day, but she need to know how to do it. So she need to be able to know how to fill Papa's shoes when he gone, because he might be off fighting a war somewhere. Right? And it might take him away for a long time, but she know how to run things until he get back from both sides. Right? The one who, like the money, the one that's most competent with money is the one supposed to hold the money. The one that's most competent running the house is the one supposed to run the house. It's real simple though, because when you create schedules and organize things and get into a routine, it make that part, once you get to the process of developing the habit, everything is smooth sailing on after that. The only hard part is developing a new habit to follow a structure. Once you develop a structure, you can govern your family most effectively. But when you don't have no structure, you got chaos. And then out of the chaos comes. But yeah, this is pretty cool. We hooked back up again.
Okay. Yeah. So hey, y'all, we gonna be back, y'all. We had to bring Rod in on today because it's on Fridays, man. We like to bring Rod in because Rod give us the end. You know, we just give us going into the weekend for my Hebrews day 7. You know, they going into the 7th. Yeah, so shout out everybody, peace and love, free all our political prisoners, free Dr. Master Teacher, Chief Black Eagle Thunderbird, Dr. Malachi York. We're still working on Larry Hoover, getting them out right now in that process. Free Rashard Jamal, free Jeff Ford, free all of our political prisoners that's been fighting on our behalf. It's been a long war, man. It's been a long 300-some years war, man, fighting these people. And we finally,
500 years.
Yeah, they finally saying, you know, we're gonna just leave your land and just leave y'all alone. But before we leave you alone, do you know who you are? Because we don't want to leave you if you don't know, if you still want to say you black, Negroes, and colors. You know, that type of thing. So, hey man, the gig is up. We gonna run this town tonight, like Rihanna said, right? Hey, we out. Peace. One love. Wadu.
Badu.
Here you go.